Hey guys, it's Kristen. So in today's video, I'm gonna show you 4 different ways that you can make scrunchies. I did put them in order of kind of like how I like to make them. So the first one is definitely the one I prefer. I just wanna say a couple quick things really fast. Anything you see me doing with a sewing machine, you can do with a needle and thread. So you don't have to have a sewing machine, it's just faster. Also, the last one does involve crazy glue. If you're not comfortable using crazy glue or if you're not familiar with using it, please don't use it because if it gets on your skin, you could stick your fingers together, it can burn you. I use crazy glue all the time, so I'm very comfortable with it. So I just wanted to put that warning out there. But that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoy the video and don't forget to leave me comments below. For this first method, I have a piece of material, some scissors, I'm going to use a hair tie, and then my sewing machine. You can also use a ruler if you want exact measurements, but most of the time people just kind of guesstimate the sizes. So I'm starting with this piece that's about 10 centimeters wide and then about 40 to 45 centimeters long. So I'm going to take the material with the nice side facing up, and I'm just going to place this hair tie kind of on the corner and fold this over until we pinch the 2 corners. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is use the sewing machine and we're going to sew along this edge, and as I keep going and sewing that, we're just going to keep going around the hair tie, and you'll be able to see it'll start scrunching around it. So obviously you don't want the hair tie in your way, so I'm just kind of folding it back, but we are going to just keep stitching and just keep moving the hair tie down. So slide it back again. So it does take a little bit of time because you have to do a little bit at a time. We'll slide the hair tie, and you can see it's scrunching up in the back. Now when you get towards the end, it's a lot easier because the material just kind of folds over. Alright, so now that we have this sewed, you should have just the 2 ends right here. You can see like mine's a little off-centered, so I'm going to cut this little piece off because we want it to be even. And now we have to flip it inside out. So all I'm going to do is just take one end and just push it with my fingers on the back and just push it in. Like that. I'm going to go about halfway. You can, actually I might be able to go all the way in. It just depends if your material is really narrow, like you can see how wide this is. If you do yours a lot skinnier, you may not be able to do that as much. You might have to do a little bit at a time. And now on the other side, I'm going to just grab it from the center and keep pulling it out. And just kind of like pull in the opposite direction. So this side, where the fabric is backwards, you're going to push inside. And then on the other end, you're going to grab from the center because we're rotating and switching it around. So I'm just grabbing that material and pulling. So this should only take a couple minutes. It's not that long. So now we've got the other end out here. There we go. So you can see we've got the 2 ends like that. And now what we're going to do is take one side and we're going to kind of like fold it in because we don't want this jagged edge. So I'm just going to tuck it in just a little bit like that all the way around. There we go. Okay, so you can see it is folded, so it's nice. And then this side is going to go inside that. Okay, so it should kind of look like that, where the jagged end went inside this side, and this is nice and even. And now I'm going to do a stitch straight down. Alright, so this is what it should look like when it's done. You can see the thickness of this just depending on how much material you use. Here's another one that I made the same way, but with less material. So this one has roughly, I want to say 10 centimeters, and this one's about 7 or 8. It's using the exact same hair tie, the same method, but you can see it's much, much larger. So just depending on how much material you want to use, you could get 2 different results. For this method, I'm using a little bit of material, some elastic, a safety pin, and some scissors, as well as my sewing machine. So again, I'm starting with a piece that's approximately 45 centimeters by 8 centimeters. So I'm going to take this with my nice side up, and we're going to fold it in half. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch along this whole edge, but I'm going to leave about a 1 to 2 inch gap in the middle. So I'm going to sew, stop there, and then start here and do the rest. So now what I'm going to do is we need to turn this tube inside the other way. So I'm going to put a safety pin on the end. It just helps to rotate it. It's almost like when you're trying to get a string through your hood or something, but I'm going to turn this inside out. So we're just going to flip this in. Just turn it around. And then I'm going to use this safety pin to kind of like scoot it through. Okay, and as it goes, I'm going to pull this side. You can kind of see it's going through. So just keep pulling the outside part. So now once you get to this side, I'm just going to have to tug this to get this straight. You want to stop right there. We don't want to pull it all the way through. We just want to kind of go like halfway. So now what we need to do is sew the inside. So you should have 2 layers, and you want to sew the 2 layers together like this. You don't want to sew it together this way. You want to sew the 2 layers together all the way around. Now the only way this is going to work with a machine, with your sewing machine, is if this is much wider, because there's no way you're going to be able to get around here. So you would need to hand stitch this. So all I'm really going to do is start on the inside, and make sure there's a knot at the end of your thread. There we go. And I'm just going to kind of loop it around like this. So I'm just going to go all the way around. So now what I'm going to do is we've got this end sewed, and I'm going to reach into this hole that we have, and we're just going to pull this out like that. Okay, and we're going to turn it around so that it goes on the inside. Oh, get a little stuck here. There we go. You would want to use the same color stitching, but I wanted you guys to be able to see what I was doing. So now I'm going to take some of my elastic, and you kind of just figure out, you know, how big you want it to be to get around your hair. So if you want to know exactly how much I'm doing, let's measure this here. So we are at about 7 inches. So now we need to find our little hole that we made. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my safety pin on the end of this. And this is like what I was saying before, how you kind of feed it like when you're trying to get a, you know, like a string through your hood that you've lost. Just don't let go of this end, but we're going to scrunch this all through. Alright, so then once you get it weaved through, then you'll have your 2 ends. If you're using a thin elastic, I would normally just tie it. This one is pretty thick, so I am going to need to sew this, and I'm just going to use my remaining thread. So I just folded this band over, and now I am just sewing these 2 pieces together. So now the last thing we need to do is just sew up the hole. It's just this tiny little thing, so I usually just kind of like pinch it together, and then I just sew on the inside. So I go in this way first, and just kind of like straight up. And then I go across on this side. And again, when you use a color that matches your scrunchie, you're not going to see this. And there you go, you've got your scrunchie. For this method, we need some material, scissors, a safety pin, a hair tie, and then you'll just need a needle with some thread. And I will be using my sewing machine. So again, I'm starting with my material that's about 40 to 45 centimeters and then 8 to 10 centimeters wide. So for this one, I'm going to fold it in half and then just sew it all the way across this back edge. I'm not going to leave any gaps. I'm just going to sew the whole thing. Okay, now that I have this sewed, I'm going to do kind of what I did earlier, and I'm going to put this safety pin right on the end, and then we're going to flip this inside. And I'm going to start turning this, and we're just going to feed it through the tube. Okay, now I am going to keep pulling this until it's completely rotated. So we're just going to keep going, pull it all the way through. There we go, just like that. Now I'm going to take my hair tie that I have, and I'm just going to pull this so it comes apart. And I'm going to hook this into the end. And I'm going to feed this through the tube again. So we're going to feed this through. And now you can either tape this. I hold this in my teeth so that it doesn't go anywhere. But you're going to have to figure out a way to keep this from pulling all the way through. This elastic is stretchy enough and small enough that I'm just going to tie this in a knot and you'll never notice. So we're just going to tie that. You just have to make sure you pull really, really tight. And now all I have to do is I'm going to sew, hand stitch these. Or you can use a sewing machine, whatever you prefer. So again, I'm going to fold this. We're going to fold this around like that. And I'm going to stick this one inside. And then we can do a stitch straight across like that. And there is the hair scrunchie for this method. This option is no sewing at all. You just need a glass jar, and then I'm going to use some crazy glue that is gel controlled. A lot of people will use hot glue guns, but after a while it will just come off your material. So what we're going to do is wrap this around the jar. I'm just gonna go like that for right now. And then I'm gonna place this over top. But I don't want it folded like that. I just wanted to get the hair tie on. So now I'm just gonna kind of pull this back until I get both ends out. So you can see, because we want the two ends like that. But all we're gonna do now is fold this over like that. And if you want to, you can fold this in like this. Make like a little lip on both sides. It's just gonna be harder to do. So, but if you want a cleaner look, you are gonna wanna fold it in like that. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this gel and we're gonna put it, I'm gonna fold this end in. And we're gonna put that right on there. And I'm gonna take this folded end and put it on top. There we go. And it does set pretty quickly, and watch your fingers because you don't want to get yourself stuck to this. So I forgot to mention that when you're starting to glue this, leave a little gap on either side so that when we're done you have room to fit the material inside each other. And we're going to put that right on there. Go, and just hold it for a second. And the last little bit. Okay, there we go. So we've got all of it pinched together, going all the way around. All right, now that we're done, we just have to get these two ends together, and it is easier to take this off. So pretty much what I'm gonna do is just put one of these inside the other one, like that. And then I am gonna fold this over again. And I'm gonna put a little bit of glue, like we did before, right on this inside, and then fold it over. So it's kind of hard to see, but I'm gonna put it right here on the end. And then when I go to glue it, I'm just gonna fold it over, so you don't see the rough edges, like that. So then I'll do the same on this side. And there you go, so it's all done, and you can see the seams are really nice on the end. This really does only work though with thicker fabrics. If you try to do it with glue on a thin fabric, it's just gonna squish right through. So I would definitely only recommend using this on a thicker fabric. Alright guys, so that's it for today's video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up. Also, if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and then hit this bell so you're alerted when I upload a new video. And I'll talk to you later.